Step into a new day. We can rise up from the dust and walk away.
What I'd like to say, this is a public hearing for an industrial rate that was proposed at last month's meeting. Anytime we propose any type of rate change in water and sewer, you have to have a public hearing, so that's what this is. It'll be open for an hour. We're just gonna, as the spirit moves you to raise your hand, we're gonna be cordial. We're gonna get up and speak your mind and try to keep it to about this industrial rate, but speak your mind. This is this rate that was proposed. How we got here is after the first year, we had a rate hike. We're addressing some problems that we've had for a long time. We're in the red for many years, so we finally changed our rates. And then after the first year, we noticed that we didn't have any high volume or someone over a certain amount. And I think that was kind of a deterrent to a lot of high volume users. And we talked about with the water board and anyone that, and like a lot of things, if you do things in mass, maybe it's good to have a discount. And we don't want to discourage industry, we want to encourage industry. That's one of the reasons I brought it up. And then we also had something else on the table, talking about auto read meters, which both of these topics will come up in our meeting after this public hearing. But in order to make a rate change, if you owe anybody, we were working with ANRC for a 0.5% loan to put in auto read meters. Well, they have to review that. If you change anything in your income, they got to see if it's going to adversely affect the bottom line. So it took a long time to do that. COVID hit right in the middle of it. That's why a lot of us we understand that, wearing masks and spaced out. So I appreciate your patience. This is something, this industrial rate is an offer for anyone over 100,000 gallons or more. $4, it doesn't undercut our wholesalers. You cannot do that by law. It was a figure that we came up with. We thought that was a fair amount for everyone involved. Anyone is applicable for this. It helps a high volume, but month by month, they use large amounts. Industrial also rate it takes a look at potential investors or investors that are already here. So with that, I'll turn it over to Ryan Bowman. He can maybe tell us the reason for this public hearing. And then after that, I'll start calling folks up to go ahead.
Okay.
You can introduce yourself.
Sure. Yeah. Thank you, Mayor, members of the council. Ryan Bowman with Friday, Eldridge and Clark. You tell me what's appropriate. If you can hear me, okay, I'll just keep it on. Okay. Ryan Bowman, Friday Law Firm in Little Rock. We're serving as bond counsel to the city in connection with the bond issue that the mayor just mentioned. In connection with this, it was necessary, and you might recall that I was here back in September of 2019. When the rate increase was adopted by this council. The world looked a lot different in September of last year than it does tonight. But as the mayor mentioned, notice has been published in your newspaper at least 10 days in advance of the hearing as required by state law. So this public hearing is not only on the industrial rates, it's also on the issuance of a bond in the maximum principal amount of $1.5 million to finance the water meter project. We'll have an ordinance on your agenda tonight in connection with that bond issue. So people can comment either with respect to the industrial rate or with respect to that bond issue. So I'd be happy to answer any questions that you might have with respect to the public hearing. Later on in your meeting at 6:30, I'll certainly answer any questions that you have with respect to the bond issue itself.
We'll just treat this like a round robin. We'll just go around the room if somebody wants to speak on behalf. Any questions from the council right now or comments for questions from Mr. Bowman or on this rate? If not, like I said, we'll discuss it, the auto read meters as well as the industrial rates. So, anybody, this is a spirit movie. Some of you got to get going. Dan O, if you want to speak anything on, okay. Anybody comments, questions for any of the CWBs here? Del Hope.
Mr. Richard, excuse me, council, this is not in reference to the industrial or the bond. This is a question in reference to the sewer and water rates that you guys passed some time ago. I don't know if I missed something or what was going on. My understanding was it was going up 5%. When I look at the figures that I got, the rate went up 25%. Was what was planned and I missed something, or?
No, does anybody want to CWB or address that?
Yeah, I've had several phone calls about this subject, so,
Not to interrupt you, but it was more than that.
was it, okay, well, so of the figures that I have, it's 25%.
Yeah, well, and I'll do one thing, we had done a rate study and then had it for a while, and we were hemorrhaging money. Every year we were coming up short on the water and definitely on the sewer, and I think about $400,000 or $500,000.
There was no doubt, Richard, it needed fixing,
Sure,
that's
sure,
not a
sure.
problem.
Sure.
But I'm confused, because the people that have contacted me as a quorum court member are saying that, that's not what we were told. We weren't told it was gonna go up 25+%.
Well,
They just mentioned 5%,
I'll
so I
let,
said.
I'll let some, Will and some of those
Yeah.
address that CWB, but another thing, you have to come up with a amount that's gonna stop the bleeding, and then we
Yeah.
had three options, I think. One was to come up with just to kind of hold our own and get back.
Sure,
And-
I understand all that, but I think what I don't understand is if it's gonna go up 25 or 30%, why didn't you just say that to the public? Say, this is what it's gotta go up. It's unfortunate we have to do this, but if it was said, I didn't hear it.
It was said, we had several meetings at my office, workshops, it was posted in the paper, open workshops, anybody that wanted to come, talk about it. We talked about the proposals, the three rates, all three rates we proposed was to raise the rates to come out even and cover that $500,000 that we would coming up short every year. So then, the one that they actually voted on was to come up even plus the 5%.
Okay.
That 5% was only to cover the 10-year plan.
Yes,
So, but when we proposed all this, everybody heard 5%.
okay. Well, and.
5% was a lot easier on the ear, and that's what they said.
Absolutely, yeah.
But we didn't actually give a percentage on what we raised them first.
Right,
But we raised the rates to cover, break even, and then did a 5% on top of it to cover the.
and I think
10-year plan.
that's, of all my constituents that have called me about this, that's where the major confusion is. Because they're saying, hey, you guys lied to us. You didn't tell us it was gonna go up 25, 30, 35%. Because, had you said that this is what we have to do to fix that, that's understandable.
It wasn't said.
But
Yeah,
I don't have it in
I don't
writing
know what
anywhere.
mine was gonna be, and it went up, you know.
I think that's why people are so irate about, double and triple their
Sure.
water bills.
Hardest hit was the people in city on sewer.
Oh, yeah, oh, yeah.
That includes a lot of us.
But that's,
All of us
I'm
in
just telling you
council.
that,
Sure.
if that comes up again, we'd have to do the same thing in quorum court. You gotta tell it up front. This is what we gotta do,
Sure.
because it's gonna fix this. I wouldn't have had a problem with
Yeah.
it.
Well, and everybody says that it wasn't said up front. I mean, Warren himself come to the meeting where we had these open meetings at the workshop, for the workshop.
Right.
It was all discussed, he videoed them, I mean.
Well, he
so
may
it's out
have,
there.
but I didn't see it in print. I'm not after you or anything.
Okay, yeah.
That's not it. I'm just saying, I didn't see it in print, or a lot of other folks didn't see it in print, in the paper, on the radio, whatever, it doesn't matter. But I think they would have been able to swallow it a little easier had that been done up front.
Right.
We wouldn't have been able just to do what we wanted to do. We would have been broke even. We would have been right back where we were.
Right.
2021 saying, okay, we need some more. So we
Yeah.
were like, we had to implement a little bit more
Sure.
than what we did just to cushion, because we were still coming out so short. We were-
Yeah, and you guys, you've done a great job. You've inherited a big
You're
problem.
saying poor communication.
Yes, sir.
Got it. Yeah.
So
I won't argue with that.
we can
That
just fix
ultimately, that
that.
falls to the mayor.
Of course, that's never happened to the court.
No,
Come
no,
on.
everybody knows, yeah.
But anyway, thank you for the job you do. It's not an easy thing to do, and I appreciate you all. I just think that, had I even known up front, it's like, okay, hey, I'm set for this, I know what's gonna happen, but it's like whammo. Went from $37 to $75.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like, ooh.
And we did, I've learned a lot since I've been here. I'm young, but I'm old school. So we put the new rate before it ever got passed, before the meeting, before everything, it was in the paper too. So, but yes, I never said 25, 50.
Yeah.
Never said those percentages.
Okay.
Everybody, we said the 5%.
Yeah.
So yes, and I have learned a lot since I've been here.
Oh, yeah. And of course, that's-
People love Facebook, so.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely.
This rate got put on Facebook today.
Okay,
Not the one that we're talking about, but the one that we're actually existing on. It was already on our website, but it is on Facebook now too.
and I think the commercial plans are excellent. I think that's an excellent plan. But anyway, that's all I've got to say. Mayor, thank you very much.
Okay.
Mayor, if I could add
Go ahead,
one
Mike.
thing. Back in September of 2019, there was an introduction of that rate ordinance, just like you did at your June meeting for this industrial rate. Then there was notice given in the paper, just like we did for this rate, and then we had a public hearing on that rate increase back in September, just like we're doing tonight. So just to kind of piggyback off of something that Will said, there was notice given to the public. There was an opportunity to appear at the public hearing. I'm not saying that maybe something was not lost in translation, but those rates certainly were published in advance in the newspaper before you as a council acted on that rate increase.
Well, there probably was some loss in translation. You know, somebody would argue, it's not gonna be 20 or 30 or 100, it's gonna be 5, it's gonna be 5, you know.
And that ordinance never
After the
spoke,
fact,
that ordinance
yeah.
never spoke to the amount of the increase, right? As they're saying 25 or even more percent.
Yeah, and one
It
thing,
did-
I didn't
it
know,
did-
I mean, I don't know who would know, I don't know how to come up with those figures, but I know it's gonna be, to make up $500,000 or 400 something, whatever it was, but we had the report, I think from CWB, I have it here, you know, steadily 300, you know, we're just hemorrhaging money, and it's like, we need to deal with that, we need to deal with that, we need to deal with that. And finally we did, and it's a pretty tough pill to swallow, I'll say that, and it's tough on some people, that's a bad part of the job.
And there were, just to add,
Go ahead.
there's bond covenants you have to meet, and we weren't financially meeting
Right.
those bond covenants, so they could.
I think Bob Wright, but it might have been the time before, came up and talked about it. I think you may have talked on that.
We were in jeopardy of
Nobody wants
losing
to
that
pay
bond.
more.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
And I'll chime in on the communication side, because sat in on a lot of meetings, water board meetings, and then also just kind of workshops, kind of planning this. And it was discussed on how we communicate the change, how it would happen, and it's difficult to give it a percentage that says every single water customer will see X percentage. And the reason you can't, because we changed the minimum. And so it's highly tied to your water bill and what your water usage was going to be. So I know what Will did and what the council did was they put out word to everyone. And again, whether the word was received or not, I can't attest to that, but I know what was said was that call the water department and ask them what your bill will be when the new rate passes, and we will tell you. So, you know, I call them and say, okay, well, my bill was $42 before, what's it gonna be after it? And they'll calculate it based on that usage, and you would get a number. And that was announced to the public. Again, I can't attest to whether the public receives these, and maybe if there needs to be a conversation on how you better do that, that's a policy question for them. But I'll just point out, though, that was very much in the conversation on how we make sure everyone understands that. But the problem was, if someone put out a percentage, it would have been misleading, because it's everybody's different according to how much water they actually use. And I think there were some attempts to give numbers on people maybe outside the council. There were some attempts to do some number crunches, and I saw some percentages roll around, but honestly, I didn't think any of those were credible numbers. So that's what I saw.
There's probably no perfect way to do that, so.
Yeah, well, you have minimum, you have minimums, and then you have, after you get to your minimums, so no person is gonna be the same,
Yep,
so.
I understand. Thank you.
Ben?
You care if I say something now? Everybody knows how I feel about the smart meters, you do especially. The cost of operations is gonna skyrocket, your software's gonna be a problem, network's gonna be a problem. Hardware changes, equipment changes, upgrades, they don't make products very long for the same way, for the same reason, so they can make more money. If you're gonna get a loan, why don't you get a loan to fix the pipes in the ground instead of fixing it on the back end like I told you? Putting these fancy water electronic meters on the end is not gonna solve the problem with the water leaking in the ground. I asked him, how many water meter readers do you have? He said he has 3. I said, okay, when you put all these electronic water meters in, how many jobs does that eliminate? Because technology eliminates jobs. Everybody knows it. He said, none. I said, okay, well, if no jobs are eliminated, the meter costs 4 times as much. That means our cost of operation went up. Where does that money come from? Everybody in this room. I come up with a calculation. I went to CWB. Well,
You had it
yeah.
right.
CWB, yeah, thank you. I went to that meeting, I was the one that taped it, Warren wasn't able to. I taped the meeting, I did it in video, based off my personal water bill. That's some of the figures that some of you probably saw on the internet, and I'm off the calculation, I didn't know how many people was on the system. I only knew 1,060 that had sewer. So I based the calculation off of 1,060 people. And off that calculation through a scenario, my sewer bill was calculated at 200 and something % increase. This was to break even with 1,060 customers, not the 3,200 that I didn't know. I did not know how big the system was. So those numbers are wrong. But they were right on 1,060 customers. I told Warren, I said, my water bill is gonna go up 44%, and my sewer bill is gonna be over 200%, based off this scenario calculation. Well, guess what? Out of everybody that crunched all the numbers, I was the closest one that gave a shot in the dark of what it was gonna be. My sewer bills already went up over 100%. I could prove it with my water receipts. My water rate went up. And luckily, I don't use a lot of water, so I get charged a base rate. So guess what? I've got 2 different base rates from 12 months apart. And they went up. I haven't done the percentages yet. But in the end, I'm figuring my water bill is gonna run about $70 a month for base rate. At the rate it's climbing. So that means my water bill, just like I told Warren 10 years ago, our water bills are gonna double before this is over. And they are. Now, how can a simple-minded person that lives on the corner that nobody likes, because I put all those messages in my fence of what I think, everybody thinks I'm an idiot or crazy or whatever, but I speak my mind and I back up what I believe. The problem I have with this whole water situation, it's not the people that work there, it's nothing personal. I've talked to him for, a couple hours in the yard. Me and him had a great discussion about this, and we agreed to disagree. That's how I work. Well, you need to worry about getting a loan to fix the pipes. Mechanical water meters are guaranteed, they're like a transmission in a car. They last, they're gear driven. Look at clocks, they're gear driven. They last for hundreds of years. Proper maintenance, they last for almost forever. There's millions of mechanical meters all over the country that cost $42 a piece at the time that I was told what they cost. I bought a used one from the city for $4. They told me it was broke. I washed it out, ran some water through it, and guess what? It still works. So I got a free mechanical meter that I paid $4 for. It still works. You guys said that the lifespan of them lasted 12 years. Then I was told they lasted 2 years. If somebody made a product that lasted 2 years and it broke, it wouldn't be in business very long. A mechanical gear-driven meter, they're everywhere. They're still in use all over the place. The problem I have is our system is so small. And with 3 guys reading meters, you can read every one of them in less than 10 days with 3 people. If not, somebody's playing around. What I would like to see you guys do is do a loan that fixes all the lateral lines, all the main lines, all the pump stations, upgrade everything, and then worry about your water meters on the back end. That is the cheapest thing you guys can buy, is that meter on the end, mechanical meter. So why don't you keep buying those to keep your costs down so you can fix everything else that's falling apart? Because you put this Cadillac meter on the end, what does it matter if you got dirt and sandblasting an electronic meter and just blowing all the sensors out of it, and then it doesn't read correctly, and then they get charged 100,000 gallons of water on somebody's little house that's not home half the time. So that's the problem I have. That's why I put no smart water meters on the fence. Everybody saw it. Nobody liked it. That's why it was there. Because it doesn't make any sense to buy an expensive meter to put on the back end of a problem. You get the problem up here and you put it on the back end. You're working backwards. Putting an electronic meter on the very back end of this problem is not going to solve everybody else's problem. My water pressure at my house barely comes into my house. It's down to 30 pounds some day. It surges. Every time it surges, you guys are out there digging something up out in town because my water pressure drops. I'm like, yep, they got a break somewhere because my water pressure dropped. That's pretty funny. I'm at my house and I can tell there's water leaking in town because my water pressure just goes to nothing. There's days when my shower barely even works, and I pay more for water that barely comes into my house. And I'm supposed to live right below the 1 million gallon tank. I should have awesome water pressure, but I don't. And I put up with it like with everybody else. But if you're going to actually spend all this money or go out and get another loan because you guys got money burning a hole in your pocket because you got your loan paid off with the sewer plant, then start digging up these old pipes that are busted up and leaking all the time, and you have to keep booting them together. Start digging them up, put new ones in. You want an industry here? Put a new system down. It may take a while, but you try to get an investor here, and you tell them, hey, we got this brand new water line, we just put it in 2 years ago, brand new. We'll tap you in, you'll be good to go. What if it's a plant? What if it's a food plant? It needs that water. Just like the chicken plant needed all that water, and that water main broke, we was down for 3.5 days, and now look what happened, it's closed, it's gone. Because it took them 2 days to find the part in another state, and they had to fly up there and get it to fix it. This is a problem that you guys are gonna put polish this nice little diamond and put it on the back end of this whole thing. It's not gonna solve anything but raise everyone's water rates, because you gotta pay the loan to pay for this meter.
Okay. Warren, you can respond, and maybe your water meter, answer the question on the water meter.
First and foremost, I want to address a couple of things that Ben brought up. Number one, if you recall, this money is at 0.5%. You do not get 0.5% interest ever. In my 27 years, this is the first time I've ever seen 0.5% interest. So Clinton was in line, as well as other customers. We worked with another municipality to get in line. Okay, so you actually got that. There were a lot of municipalities that waited too late and
We were
did
there
not
first,
get
opening
that.
morning, Dickie Hinkle.
Correct.
First
And
one.
so that was one of the reasons why we moved on the water meter project, is because it was 0.5% interest.
We can't
Okay.
make a water meter project without the electronic meters.
Well, you have positives like ultrasonic, but I'll let Greg discuss water meters if he shall. Number two, I want to address the pipeline issue that Ben brought up. On the capital improvement plan, it is in there. So it is in there. We are going to start working on that. And that's something that here pretty soon, and Ryan can attest to this, is that interest rates are extremely low right now. So that's why at the last meeting, I brought up the conventional bond, moving forward with it. So, you know, we're going to be coming to you moving forward with that, because we want to take advantage of these low rates, because, you know, further on down the road, these rates may not be as low as they are right now. We're talking 3.25 interest rates, okay? So it's exceptional interest rates right now. We're working through two other clients right now, closing bonds and Friday Firm. We're working with two other attorneys with the Friday Firm as well. So that's where we're at right now, but it is in the capital improvement plan to address a lot of your infrastructure needs. Okay, and I appreciate you and your fence up there. I
Is
do
the
come by
loan
and look
fixed?
at
Wait,
that. So
wait, don't appreciate nothing. That's for everybody. Is the loan a fixed APR from beginning to end?
oh yeah,
Guaranteed.
oh yeah, 0.5%.
Okay, well, what better deal can they get if they drop the $1 million electronic meters and actually focus on the system itself?
That,
We're
That's the
focusing on
problem.
that
both.
money,
Why
that
can't
money
we
is
do
actually
both?
put out there only for, meter projects.
That's
But
right.
It's not.
the meter is irrelevant at this point, because you need to fix what's in front of it.
Okay, go, Greg.
You have a lot of loss in your meters. Do you agree?
My meter works. I don't have any loss.
Oh.
I pressure test my house. My house doesn't leak.
Okay.
I'm not saying everybody's house is in perfect
You know,
shape.
the meter may spin or turn or move, but as far as accuracy, that's what you lose in years of use or gallons through it. Ultrasonics have no wear, no moving parts, dirt, debris to go through it, not gonna catch in a nutating disc and make it slow down, stop. They get down, the low flow, continuous low flow is 0.05 gallons per minute.
And also the vibration can fool it.
Haven't seen it.
It
I've
does.
seen it on a PD meter though, or on
It
a,
can fool it.
so anyways.
Because all it's gotta
so-
do is move. That's it. It doesn't have to flow. All it's gonna do is shake.
Okay,
And it
so
trips.
moves forward, moves back.
All it's gonna do is move. It detects flow. No matter which direction it goes.
Sure,
It
it
detects
does,
flow.
it does, it
Hey,
goes back.
Greg, go, just address,
Okay,
that's.
so anyways, it's cash register for the city. Everything that you're losing in a meter that's been there for 20 years, I don't know how long, some of them have been there, quite a while. Rockwell's?
Yeah, we changed that at Rockwell today.
Yeah. We changed that at 15, over equipment, we changed that, a meter been in about 15 years. We put in electronic, the next day it showed up 6.5 gallons an hour. That's about 4,600 gallons a month they were giving away. So that is part of, that is not the end of the line, that is something you want to focus on the front of the line. That's why they're looking at meters, why they're looking at ultrasonic. You mentioned software, hardware disappearing. These,
Yeah, it gets all, it changes all the time.
these all can be updated, the software is updated on the cloud. You pay one thing one price and you don't pay anything else. The meters themselves are potted, they can work submerged in water. Now, can't get a signal out if the endpoint is over water, if the water's over it, but,
Right. Scares the radio away.
as far as signal, 3G's been around since 1998. It's still out there. It's still being used. 4G came around 2009. It is definitely being used and still, along with LTE, is still there. Our endpoint is 5G capable. So, and there is a guaranteed warranty we have, 10 years full replacement if for some reason the network goes down, 10-year prorated. So we have, and that's not gonna happen. I mean, not if we look at history on different networks, different jumps in technology.
Another problem I have is if you're putting all this extra technology in,
Mhm.
and the cost of operations has went up, it's not saved nothing on the
It
front
will,
end.
it will save,
You're saying overtime will save due to the.
no,
loss of
automatically. These read 4 times a day to the office. Phone calls for water, how many water adjustments do you do? Because you can't prove that the water went through the meter. This shows you exactly, it gives you a printout. And you can give it to the customer and say, hey, you use this water, this is where it spiked, and so there's no leak adjustments. Also, the customer themselves can sign up on an app. And that app is for them to look at their water, if they never use the app again. I know there's a lot of people don't use technology. If they sign up the first time, and they put on their notify me for a leak alert. 2 years later, you have a leak in your bathroom, upstairs bathroom you never used. And if it runs for 24 hours continuous, it's gonna notify you. You've saved everything right there. I mean, I don't know how many gallons could go through it 30 days before they give you your bill. You can look at your own water, look how long your daughter takes a shower, cut back, save money because of the increase on water rates.
So everybody has to lower their quality of life at the sacrifice of technology.
No.
Well, that's
What
what's
was-
happening.
No, it's
People use less
making you
water.
be more,
People don't want their water bill to be expensive.
No.
Our water is gonna be one of the most expensive systems in the state. We're gonna be in the top third. It's gonna happen. I predicted it. I've told Warren, it's gonna
Okay.
happen.
What?
It's all there.
What was the total amount, was it 10 million offered from ANRC for that, program available for
oh, I'm
that?
not,
that-
he
I
might
don't know
know the
what the
numbers.
total was out there.
I don't know what the EPA handed down to them.
I think it was 10.
I think it may have been about $10 million.
We got a pretty good chunk at a 0.5%, I
That's- I
remember
think
that.
that's what it was.
And some of the advantages of, let's just walk me through, or whoever doesn't know, and I don't know. You're reading a meter now, do you drive by it, do you sit in the office and read it, does it alert you when there's a leak, da-da-da?
Right now, we send out, we hand read. We send out our guys and it usually takes about 7 days. And, we hand read every meter. We go up, lift up the box, clean it off, read the meter. We've got a little handheld that we can put it, or we can do paper copies. But, but we actually hand read and type in every meter reading.
Other cost savings, besides not rolling the truck to read meters, we all know about that. But customer service, like if they get a call in the office and they're rolling a truck to check a meter, look at something for a customer, and you have a system big enough that takes some time, takes the guy away from something else he could be doing.
The idea of technology is to replace people.
Right.
It's not replace anything.
No,
The reason I'm not
It's-
looking at replacing people right now is because we're really, really short-handed. So like today, I went and fixed 2 water leaks myself, me and my
You're
water
short-handed?
superintendent,
How many
because
jobs
all my
do you
guys
have?
are reading meters.
If you're short-handed, how many job openings do you have? How many people is looking for a job?
I've got 2 openings right now.
Okay, I'll let them know. I'll tell them to go to your office. They might, I don't know, I'll tell
Well, instead of
I
reading-
actually need,
instead of
right, since
reading-
everybody's listening, I really need somebody with computer skills. I have one of my positions is at the water treatment plant, and you gotta have computer skills and everything, and I'm really looking for someone.
I'll check that out.
Yeah, you'll be there.
Instead of reading water meters,
Hey, Daryl,
them. Show them where the fire station is.
instead of reading water meters, those same men that are taking 7 days to read can go out and start fixing a leak, you know, we were down for what, an hour and a half today, at the hospital, and, you know, that, I was for meter readers at the very first, and then I thought, no, we gotta build our house before we get our furniture, you know? Then I was like, no, I have changed back, we have to save water, we are at a loss of, we were at 40% at one time, that is a lot of money. And we're eating it. And I think the last municipal league meeting that Tim and I went to, they were like, we go to all these meetings, like we're like, well, we're going to that water meeting today, or we're gonna go to this budget
If you got
meeting.
meters that's been in the ground.
And you know
up
what
to
they
20
said,
years,
Ben?
That's on the meter department. That's
You
on
know
the
what they
water
said?
department.
What most municipalities' waters are supposed to be at? If your water municipality is over 4%, then something's wrong. We're at 40%.
Yes, because it's been neglected.
Well, we're trying to move forward.
And also these meters,
You know.
some of the bigger ones have pressure temperature on them. If they have a pressure drop down the line, or if they put them on distribution meters that distribute to 300 customers over here, 500, they can tell, hey, this went through this meter, this is how much we sold, we've got a leak, in this area, let's take care of it. Highway 71 was at 51%. They put in 10 district meters and got well below that in the 20s. And this technology, the analytics, all the data you get can be used to save money for the system. Finding leaks, that's the biggest concern of all water.
How many municipalities are auto read? as
We have
opposed to-
over 70 that are, over 50 that are cellular. Over 50 in the state. I've got a list that I can give you, that you could call any one of them. Heber Springs, this is the meter and the endpoint. Heber Springs is using Poly, Community Water, Wooster, Guy. Marshall is a mobile read. That's the one that's close. Beaver Fork, anyways.
Mobile read, which is you just drive by it?
You drive by it.
Got it.
Um,
And ours is from the?
From the office.
From the office?
Yes.
Okay.
And they can pull a billing read any day of the month. If it's 30th and, hey, we want to pull everybody's read from the 20th, they pull a file, drop it, you've got all the reads in your bill.
Do you think auto read is something good for a department to move toward, to go the future, or not?
Absolutely. It's not a luxury. I know you think it just makes it easy on the water guys, but it's something that, like I said, you can run your system more efficiently, find your water loss. Customer service is so much better. It's got a lot of upside that actually helps you and saves you money.
I mean, can anybody from, and there's several people here, I didn't know if you've been on the same thing, and I ain't trying to just open it up for anything, on any topic of the industrial or the, Andy, you go ahead
Let
and
me
then,
ask you, on the rate increase last fall,
you don't have to bellow, I'm sorry.
that's right, rate increase last fall. We either neglected, but when that rate was increased, it wasn't like an industrial rate increase and then a residential increase. It was just an increase, correct or not?
We went up on.
You have to come up here, Gay, I
Okay,
cannot hear you.
I'm sorry.
And Will filled the question, I mean,
Yeah. She's
go
asking
ahead,
if
say
we
say
went
that
up on
again,
everybody
I have to read
else.
your lips too.
Sorry.
That's okay.
On
I'm
the
deaf.
water rates last year when they went up, normally because we raised chickens for Tyson's, we got an industrial rate. I don't know whether we missed out and didn't notice that there was an industrial rate or whether there was and we just didn't catch it. Was it raised just straight across whether you're residential or commercial? When we raised it the first time, the 20 or 25%?
What wasn't put in there, it was just over, that's probably.
Yeah, we did not have an industrial at the time, we had a commercial.
Okay,
And
that's
we-
what-
And we went up on commercial and residential.
Okay,
Yeah,
that's
both.
what kind of blew us out of the water.
Yeah.
Because we went, like I said, and that comes from being spoiled, we had the industrial rate because we use so much water. So when ours went up, and we were talking about the percentage, my water bill now is, each time we sell a batch of chickens, when we get our chickens, we have our water bill. Well, we'll have about, on the fourth month, or in 4 months, we'll have the big water bill for chickens that we've just raised.
Right.
We have spent an extra $1,500 on 4 months. And and normally we have 5 or 6, so it would have gone up to 2,000 or 2,500 had they not cut the chickens back because of COVID. So now, we'll still have that increase, and then you've got this increase on it, so is that, I guess what I'm asking is, we keep what we've got because we didn't catch it on the front, and then this increase also, it's got an industrial, so it will be less, but the other one will stay the same, or are you going back and saying we didn't do the industrial, so we will adjust that to help, because, I mean, we're probably the smallest large consumer. But, you know, you've got Western Sizzling, you've got the hospital, you've got Global, and we're just afraid, you know, that it's gonna, we're stuck, and we're maybe.
Kinda in the middle, in between.
Yeah, in between, so,
Yeah.
and we we don't think we can get more business if we've got that high for an industrial
Right.
for their water. So that was our question.
Right.
Can we do anything about not catching that there was an industrial rate, or can you do it because there was an industrial rate back when you upped it?
Well,
Or we will just stuck with that and then plus the increase with just the industrial price now?
I'm trying to answer, I think you're where you're at. We just picked 100,000 gallons.
Okay.
And-
So it's what, the rate we have now, because it was like $2 and something per whatever, and it went up to 6.
Right.
So that we keep, and then we do get a break on the new one. Is that
It
right?
depends on per month, and you may want
Depends
to
on how
explain
many-
that. I'm still not hearing the,
I've looked at all, I've actually looked at their meters also, like their village, and their village, like she said, when they've got chickens, they're up there at that 100,000 gallon.
Yeah,
But then when they don't, they're just like a residential customer, and they use like a residential customer does.
When we've got chickens, we use like 100, anywhere from 100 during the summer or warmer, well, actually nearly around 124,000 plus to 130,000.
right.
So your question,
That's
Gay,
it.
is,
Are
where are
we
you gonna
stuck-
be when you
oh,
don't
yeah,
have
oh, yeah,
chickens?
if- yeah.
Do
Are we
do you
stuck
take it, how
with
long is
just-
it? Do you go in for 4 months and you're in and out, or you got it for a year? or-
Well, are we stuck with the increase we've got because it wasn't an industrial price then? We're stuck with the residential price from last year, plus now we get one with an industrial rate.
Yeah.
Do we get an adjustment, I guess is what it boils down
You're
to?
talking about adjustment from when we started
From
in January.
when you started on it.
Yeah. Oh, I see. I don't.
That's a very good question.
Yeah, you
Yeah.
kind of I guess backdating on it, because now,
Right.
I mean, I understand, and I know where everybody's coming from, and with the 5%, but like I said, it costs us an extra $1,500 to $2,500 a
Per
year.
month?
Yeah, well, for
Per
what, the
house?
chickens we raise in a year, that's gonna be
Our
the
water
extra.
bill went up 250%,
Yeah.
what she's trying to say.
Right, right,
And I don't think that's fair.
yeah,
Okay.
There you go.
okay, thank you.
Okay. Somebody else? Andy, I'm sorry.
No, you're good. Thank you, Mayor, thank you, council. It's real quick, I wanted to talk in favor of the industrial rates. I appreciate the proposal here and getting that ready. I'm, again, Andy Shaw with Natural State Processing, Cypress Valley Meat Company, and we operate out of the Global Foods building here on Quality Drive. We have 55 employees that work with us, and we've, the rate we had originally was, the meter was incorrect, and we were paying $500 a month. That got corrected. We didn't realize it, but wasn't reading both meters correctly, and William caught that and got that fixed. It went to $3,000, which was a big hit, but from there, since the last rate increase, we went to $10,000 a month, and so that's a big swing, and it's a really, for us trying to make some business decisions and look at expansion, we really need this industrial rate decrease to help out offset that. That's not going to get us back to where we thought we would be, but it would certainly help and get us away from the $10,000, $11,000 that we're paying now. And I know you mentioned earlier, Mayor, that you just can't continue to bleed, and I understand that, and you'd obviously have to at least put a tourniquet on that, and I get it. But also, I would ask that, as you look at some of these industrial rates and what that means for business and what that means for the employees that we have, and the economic development that's in the area because of it, and bringing in new business, or for us to look to expand and bringing in those jobs, what that means in the money that's spent in the community. So we provided, I think, the council with those economic development studies and what the employment the numbers mean and what that talks about in revenue in the community, not only from taxes, but also just the as the employees are spending money in the community at grocery stores or barber shop. We have vendors coming in that's getting fuel and eating at restaurants, all those things, and just the economic impact of the businesses they have being here. And I just think that a decrease would be very helpful in not only retaining business, but also recruiting new business here. So I appreciate the council considering that.
All right, thanks. Of course, we still got 15 minutes or so. Anybody else want to say anything? There's a point that I wanted to make. I'm trying to back up, remember what to say something. But yeah, one thing when we were hemorrhaging, and I said from the onset, you know, when we formed the Water Commission, I said we need to look at the overall, what we have to do. You can fix anything with a pencil. Well, we're not making this much, we're not making enough, we're short this much, how many customers we have, let's divide it, and then that's what it's gonna be. You can fix it, but the last thing you wanna do is just make someone suffer. And it was a situation that's just been, well, we need to do something about that, we need to do something about that. And so this is a work in process. I mean, we're just plodding along, and we're gonna get some things right, we're gonna get some things wrong. That first year, we should have put a high volume in there. Now, where does that high volume come? Who's it gonna benefit? And one thing we did, we couldn't go below our wholesalers, which is, I think, 3 something. By law, you can't do that. But, you know, we can get it down, and we came up with $4. And I was just dependent on, you know, come up with a number without looking at, well, putting the criteria on it. You know, what does Dale Holt need? How can I help my buddy out? Or just using you for example. But it wasn't done that way. It's just come out and let's pick a spot and then reevaluate it with the commission every quarter, every half year, whatever we can do, and just keep trying to get this thing fixed. Because the point was made, you got a lot of things underground that is disastrous. You know, we spend a lot of time chasing our tail because of things that were, you know, hookups to sewer, you know. Well, I hooked up to the sewer once upon a time, and then Chad hooked up to me, and then Sam hooked up to me, and we're kind of just one guy, and then you discover this as you go. You know, whereas some of these lines are up close to the ground. So there's a whole lot of work to do. Some people are suffering more than others, and that's never good. And we'll try to, you know, some things you wouldn't know if you don't come and say, this is what's happening to me, you know, and come to the commission and say, you know, how often is this the rate? Are you gonna, if you get on it, are you on it for a year or 6 months or 4 months, or can I take the heavy months? And one thing happens, anytime you change rates, your lenders do look at that and say, you know, we had to do this for this industrial rate, ANRC, with that 0.5%. Well, they're gonna have to look at it. It wasn't that much money overall, but they did have to look at it and did have a process to go through. So it takes a lot longer than you hoped it would. So I just wanted to say that, because it's not like, you know, you're suffering 250%, it's a lot. Hard to, Danny can say the same thing, and anybody else in the business can too. Tim?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. You know, I think some of it, and I'll be the first one to admit, you know, usually about 95% of problems that we deal with, regardless of the situations that we're in, or deal with communication. So, Dale, thank you. I mean, if we could have done it and better communicated, we should have. And I'm sorry that we didn't communicate it. I'll be the first one to say we should have done a better job, but on that side. But those are the things that, like the mayor said, those are the things that we learn as we go through this, because it is a fluid situation. That's kind of, you know, kind of oxymoron there, but it is fluid as far as looking at rates and where we want to go in terms of the water. And in terms of the smart meter thing, and I guess we'll talk a little bit, but I'll just tell you this, you know, when I got elected in 2014, it was people that said, Tim, we need you to work on the water situation. That was the number one thing. We've got to do something about the infrastructure in our water system. Well, I found out pretty quick that Clinton actually had 3 rate studies, you know, and almost 3 consecutive years before there, and nobody took any action. For whatever reason, the city, the municipality decided not to do anything about it. And so when you have situations in infrastructure systems that are, 25, 30, 35, 40 plus years old, and, the can just got kicked down the road, well, we were to the point where there wasn't a can to kick. And we already had, like Ben was saying, when that pole yard went out and they had to go fly to go get a part because they don't make them anymore. We're still to the point where we're just one catastrophic event with our water system that we're gonna have the National Guard up here hauling water to the hospital or whatever. We're not there yet. We were to the point where our bonding company, I don't know why, it may have been anywhere else. The bonding company would have taken over that bond, taken over our water department. We would not have a Clinton Water and Sewage Department. Somebody else would have it. They would have set the rates, and I guarantee you, it would be a whole lot higher than what we have right now. Industrial rate, high volume rate, commercial and residential. 250% increase, I agree, that's not fair. But if we had looked at it 20 years ago, 15 years ago, and the city put some steps in place, there would have been some percentages of increases in things that could have taken care of the infrastructure problems. That didn't happen. We just got to a crisis point. It just got to where, I don't even say it was a perfect storm because the storm should have never happened. It just built up and built up and built up and built up, and we had to do something. And so when you change something drastically that should have had probably several rate increases over a certain number of years, probably our water rate would probably still be where it is right now, and we probably wouldn't be talking about this. But that didn't happen. That didn't evolve in terms of how we did that. So I have to compliment our mayor, because we do have a water board now. We have another avenue of oversight that looks at things. And nothing is perfect. And it's always easy to go back in hindsight and say, I wish I could have done that, or we should have done this, or we should have done that. The smart meter thing was on our capital improvement plan. And it was like the very last thing that we would be looking at. But when we said you get 0.5% on a loan, just because we're voting on the smart meter and just because of the loan, doesn't mean that the smart meter project is going to be placed in front of completion of the pole yard station, which is the number one thing. Because it's just not. It shouldn't be. And I would have an argument with that, to put that above other things like lines in the ground and where some of these lines are and some of
Pole
the
yard
things.
is so, the hospital and shut down. I think that was referred to earlier.
And I mean, and we started working on that, and then we found out that we didn't have the funding to finish it. So that's part of it too, because in certain sections that they worked on that, when we've got water running, but it ain't going anywhere. It's in the pipe, it's in the line. So, some of this is the fact that just to the point of where we were and where the water system got to. And then the other point again, which again is a fair point, is just could we have done a better job communicating what that rate increase and how it had been broken down to cover the existing issues that the water department had, in addition to what we wanted to do. And I'll be the first to look. I mean, I've looked at my, water bill too. Some months since January, it hadn't changed at all on a rate increase. And I mean, you know, I have 4 women in my house. I mean, I was predicting a 500% increase in my water bill, but it didn't happen. You know, some of the things, when I've had an increase over the last 6 months, I've looked at actually what we were doing on our property at the time that it was metered. And so that's why it's an easy, I mean, my water bill this month is $100. And basically, I know it's $100 because I burned something on the property and had to use some water to make sure it didn't get out of control, so the fire chief didn't show up. So, you know, and I've told people too, that have contacted me, if they have an issue with their water bill and stuff, it's a simple thing to contact the water department. We've had meters that weren't read correctly, and they made the adjustment on there. There's not an issue. So, could we have done a better job communicating that to public? Probably could. Would it have made everybody happy? No, because you can't make everybody happy. You still got the fringe on both sides. It doesn't make any difference what you do. They're not going to be happy about it. You know, are we saying that? I can only speak for myself, to put the meter project above other things that I feel like are way more essential and more urgent that have been identified in our capital improvement plan? No. But it wouldn't be good government not to at least look at and have this discussion about having a 0.5% loan on something that many municipalities and water departments are using. So, you know, that's where I am in it. I know it's tough and all that, but where would we be if we didn't have it? If we wouldn't have done this. So we can always go back, and this is good discussion, because government should work that way. It's not something that should be a hard line, you know, on anything, city government, state government, or the federal government. But that's why municipal government and county governments really get more stuff done than any other form of government either, because we have to live with everybody. You know, we have to live with our neighbors, and we look at our community. We want our community to grow. And it's troublesome in Clinton to see other communities that are growing and their industry is growing, and we're not. And so we need to look at those things and to make those decisions, but not also take into account the fact that some of this stuff just wasn't, you know, you can't kind of cut it. It's going to hurt, like the mayor said. It's going to hurt some people a little bit more than others. Had it been done in some stages over some years, probably not. But I wish that would have happened, but it didn't happen. So, you know, we did the best we could, make decisions the best that we could, so we can move our city forward, which is going to move our county forward in the future. So, you know, that's where I am. I'm not here to answer questions or anything like that. I'm here just to share my viewpoint on it, and to also to listen to people that are here. But I'm not going to get in a conversation here or there. We can later on, but I'm not in here to do a one-on-one little conversation and to debate things. That's what's on my heart.
We're getting close.
Matt,
Before we start, Matt Stewart is on the Water Commission. Marla Buns' daughter, Kristen Fleming, is on there. That's I see Marla Buns. Adam McJunkin, who took Danny Newland's place, and Darrell Allen, who's not here, and Mickey Parrish is the chairman, who's in South Dakota. So, and I told him, that's not a problem. We're being at the airport, fly in and fly right back out. But that's our water board. I appreciate it. Matt, I didn't mean to cut you out. Go ahead.
Oh, you're fine. Richard asked me, I don't know, it seems like 7 or 8 years ago, a long time to kind of be however long you've been the mayor, I don't know. we kept.
Too long, a lot of people say.
It's long. Take a look at these numbers, it was pretty obvious right away we were hemorrhaging money. Like,
Yeah.
I don't know how it got to that point, that's neither here nor there, I don't know, but first glance, they're like, oh, we're losing X amount. No, you're not. I mean, I like math, it's my thing. It was very obvious that we weren't losing 28,000 a month, we're losing 70,000 a month.
Yeah.
I don't remember the exact numbers, it was very obvious, very quick. But to that point, how we got to this, to start out with, you guys run a business. If you're not making money, you can't stay in business. It's very obvious. So we had to make the decision. We got a stern talking to by these bond companies. Like, there was no going back. And what he was saying, like, you think it's bad now, and I do. Like, y'all are, I like everybody in here. I've known everybody. I don't want anybody to suffer or not make money the way they have always done. We didn't have a choice, and they were very clear. They were gonna take it over if we didn't do something. And it was gonna happen, not 250% for just you, it would be 250% for everybody, if not more. So, had to do something. Obviously, we didn't communicate it well. I'll be honest, I didn't understand it exactly the way it was going down personally, and I'm on the board, so that's something that we definitely didn't do right. For just so it's communicated well now, there's no, hey, you guys didn't communicate this. If we do the meter readings correctly and do this auto meter reading, people's water bills are gonna go up, most likely. It's going to happen, because we have all this old infrastructure. The way I'm being told, the way I understand, I'm no engineer, we're not capturing all the water. Hopefully our 30%, 35% water loss goes to 20, because it's just bad meters. So people's water bills are probably going up. So everyone has heard it, everyone hears it. I don't want mine to go up, I don't want yours to go up, but just for good communication,
Sure.
that's gonna happen.
Yeah, and then you deal with that, the quarterly, yearly, whatever. And the Willocks are taking the brunt.
Exactly.
Somebody's like, boy, I'm glad I ain't them, that's not, I ain't being flippant, but it's brutal. And that's gonna happen when you start taking the first swaths, and you're clearing out the old, need to be done, you're gonna cut something right in half that, it's not good, it's not easy. I do appreciate the commission. I do appreciate our water manager. He's young to me. He's in his 30s. So, and he's sharp and he's brave, and he's not afraid to admit when he's wrong. I appreciate Dickie when he was here. Dickie came in just for a couple of 3 months, just kept staying and he moved a lot of money over. He got a lot of things fixed, and he probably knows as much about the Clinton water as maybe next to Milton, but he got a more than a good rally going, and I think we're got the right momentum. We're gonna make a lot of mistakes, no doubt about it, but it is being addressed, and it's not perfect and it's not the best, but it is a step forward, and the people that fall through the cracks or get hurt the most, and it's hard to see, and y'all know very well because it's real dollars, but I do
And speaking of
appreciate.
commission, like, we were blown away, like your rates, we had no idea. No one could have dreamed that or would have expected that. That's, yeah,
Anything from the council before we're about to I think we're about there.
Just in case, like, the people here want to leave before the city council meeting starts, I'm going, and my board, this is the first time they've heard it too, because normally we meet on Tuesday before the Thursday meeting. It didn't work out that way. It's our second Tuesday is next week. But I am gonna be coming before the board tonight and telling them that we have put up enough money to start that pole yard project without taking a bond out. So I will be asking the council later to approve me putting out bids, putting out bids. We've taken that $20,000 that we're spending every month, we paid that off in April. So we've been taking that $20,000 we were putting on a bond and putting it into a account to do this pole yard project. So by the time that we get the bids out and they're accepted and everything, we should have that other $150,000 to finish that pole yard project.
Okay, good. That's a good way to end. Any,
I'd just like to add that the pole yard project is the last project of what? We had 5 projects that 4 of them's been completed. Before you came, we got the water line over in Honey Hills.
Mm-hmm.
They did the sewer line under the shopping center where the grocery store is. did the water line over on 65B that was replaced. And
The water and the electrical lines
Yeah.
at Vava and Gary's.
then Simlock Acres, we did that, so.
Sewer in Simmock Acres.
So we've spent about $1.5 million before we ever
18 years later.
asked anybody for a rate increase. That was money that came from savings that came from the tax, the sales tax that was allocated for water and sewer projects. So let's put that out there. We did spend that money first before we even talked about, you know, putting a
Yeah,
rate
I remember
increase.
that. You got
Yeah.
upset with the mayor.
It's been very hard. I mean, it's been very hard as a council member to make these decisions that we know that's gonna affect our community. And to know that the hardworking citizens that you do, I mean, you know, you've got farmers and you've got rangers that use a lot of money, I mean, use a lot of water. And we want to attract our industry. I mean, that's, we're gonna grow, we need to move forward. So, not getting back to what the past was, we didn't do anything. So you become stagnant, that's my run right there. But
And why don't you do what Conway done?
we're not Conway, we can't compare Conway to Clinton.
Our utilities, you can go with Conway and
They
their
own their
utilities.
own utilities,
Yes,
they
why
own
can't we
everything.
try to
We're
figure
not,
out
we're
a
not
way to
there
do
yet,
this
Ben. We
Okay,
can't
okay.
even get our water. We're-
Warren, you got anything to?
No, Jeff, we did, you know, the 1.5 million, those projects. I think the sewer line project to the treatment plant, and I forget the road, the street we went down on it, but that was around 697,000. Highway 65B was 100 and something thousand. So we spent that money wisely, addressing your infrastructure, with what the funding you had at that time. So we got a jump start on it, and then now we're ready to go and talked to Will earlier, so as soon as you give the blessing to go ahead and start the
Yeah.
proceedings to do the pole yard, rest of the pole yard pump station, we're ready.
Okay, Ben made a point and said something that made me think, starting at the wrong end, when Dickie Inc. said about the Simmock area, so I need to start up here by Barnes's house and come down here. I said, no, you actually need to fix it at the other end. And I was usually the way most of my ideas, he was right and I was wrong. Whatever y'all did, Teresa did fix it. Now, won't say, you know, something else.
Right now, it's not coming up out of the street anymore.
Well, that's a good one,
That's
that's good. I was gonna say,
18 years later, it's finally
Ben, let
stayed in the manhole.
Ben,
pump.
lend us on.
We solved some overflows by upsizing the pipeline. Now, Mother Nature will always supersede you, so.
Yeah,
there will be
the
more
infiltration is
that will
what
be-
torments me.
Correct.
And it was saying, you know, you need to get some people that, you know, you know more about this than I do, but when you have groundwater infiltrating, you're treating stuff that don't even need to be there. And that's gonna be tough. That's gonna be tough. That's gonna be a long process. Anyway, I appreciate, everyone speaking up. We're gonna start the city council meeting just a little bit later. Let's give everybody 5-10 minutes to mill around.
Step into a